with money. Apparently, a PhD in physics won't help me predict the trajectory of my own retirement, so I work with TIAA CREF. You get quality, personalized advice no matter what your balance is. For me, they make investing as easy as Newtonian physics.
Advice for everyone. One more way TIAA CREF is created to serve and built to perform. Visit TIAA.org. TIAA CREF Individual and Institutional Services, LLC. This testimonial is an actor portrayal. Advice is subject to institutional plan rules. Investing involves risk. Individual results will vary.
This is Charles Osgood. Tax compliance can be a real pain for businesses. That's why I'd like to tell you about Avalara's powerful tax automation technology. Avalara simplifies sales tax and other business taxes with real-time tax rate calculations and automatic return filing. Avalara's software already integrates with your accounting, e-commerce, and point-of-sale systems, so it couldn't be easier. Find out how the good people at Avalara can help you at avalara.com. That's AVA.
Folks, thanks for hanging in here on the Jake Feinberg Show. We apologize. Still looking for Bill Summers. We're going to have to reschedule with a legendary percussionist because he's AWOL. But his loss is our gain as we are about to introduce a legend, a vocal legend, somebody who has been said has 6 different voices. He has been a lead singer with some of the most heady soul groups in the world, including the Detroit Spinners and the Temptations. And he is a man of love, and that's what this show is about. G.C. Cameron, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Thank you, Jake. And God bless you. It's good to hear your voice, and it's good and appreciative that you're having me on your show. I really thank you.
Well, I want to tell you, man, this is a ball for me because outside of I did the last interview ever with Bobby Womack, and I've talked to some cats, but man, it's the Willie Hutch and the and the G.C. Camerons and the Curtis Mayfields, and a lot of those guys have left us now. But I got to tell you, my show is predicated on love. However you want to define love, and we will get into that. But to hear you sing, and to hear you sing authentically about love at a certain period of time in our history, so powerful for me because I feel like we are living in a time now, for better or for worse. At 37 years old, with a young father, I can honestly say, I don't feel that kind of love anymore, especially in the music. I don't hear it, and part of that's digital music, part of that's the drum track, part of that is just speaking to society. But I just wanted to open up and ask you, when you joined the Spinners, or even when you started your own career in Motown, was your joy, was your love, was your lyrics, was your singing predicated on a belief in hope in society? Were we a more loving society when you first started your career?
When by the grace of the Most High God, I came home from Vietnam September 17th, 1967. And I was a young combat Marine. And my world was a whole different kind of place. It was a terrible place to be. And when I came home, within 1 month, I became lead singer with the Spinners. Detroit was full of love at that time. Everything was about love. Everything was about respect. Everything had hope in it. Every box that you opened, there was a supply of hope in that box. And so for all of those who received that box had hope in their hearts and their minds because it came with the package. And so I tried to turn all of my comrades who I lost in Vietnam and my friends and my own inner thoughts of tyranny and pain and agony and all of the other stuff that comes with war. I thought I would sing it away. And so I began to express my feelings, not just for myself, but for all my comrades. And hopefully at that time I was thinking maybe I could sing for the world even and share back this box of hope that was given me.
I love it.
Musically.
I love it.
And so I began to recognize that it's love that is the fuel for the rotation of the planet itself. It keeps it from warping. It keeps it from self-exploding from within. Love is the eternal flame that lights the pathway to eternity. And now we are without that love. Therefore, the human race is up for grabs, if you will.
I agree.
Because of lack of love. And see, love doesn't travel by itself in the car. Love always carries companions like hope, trust, understanding, compassion. All of those entities of spirit travel with love, giving, sharing, humbleness. Those are the companions of love itself.
GC.
And now we're without all of those entities. So it's a mad world, if you will, because of lack of that. And when the spirit of that particular entity leaves the world, there's a darkness that comes over us, and we become the animals that we fear most. We become ourselves, and we are the animals in which we fear most. In the music industry, has been deceived into a dark cave of hopelessness for the hopeless. They don't know that they're hopeless because when you begin to take the human factor out of the human equation and replace it with the computer and with the artificial technological thing, then not only are you taking jobs away from the human beings and the comedians and the musicians and even the singers in some places, what you're doing is you're destroying the reality of what spiritual things go into the works itself. See, the computer doesn't have a soul, therefore it can't feel.
Mm-hmm.
It can look perfect, but the imperfection is the inability to feel, to love. And that's what we're missing in the industry. And it was an incredible awakening for me over these last 50 years going on since I've been home from Vietnam. And I'm looking at us and how we regressed as a people. And it's frightening to me. Not in a scary way, but for the children I fear, because, like I say, I'm past worrying about GC. Thank God Almighty, I've gone past that one. I don't worry about things pertaining to me. I worry about my children and my children's friends who are someone else's children.
That's right.
And et cetera. So I'm focused on that aspect of my realities and my existence, is that I'm not important, but those who came after me are important, as I was important to my parents. And while I was in Vietnam, it had to be the greatest strain on my mother to have her youngest son, out of 7 sons, to have a baby in war. So even though they were sending her letters constantly, there was still pain. I could feel the pain because she was praying for me all the time. And her prayers for me went over to a few of my friends who survived and made it out. But it was just good. And I wanted to do good, not just for my mother, my father, my brothers and sisters, but for people. I wanted to do good for Motown. I wanted to do good for the spinners who I admired and adored because I learned so much from them in show business. It was my first rodeo. Therefore, the horse they put me on was a beautiful paint, and I had to ride that rascal until, I learned how to ride without a saddle and having a bit or a bridle on this horse. And so they were the teachers that taught me these things. And that's how I feel about love. Love, man, is something that if you could put your hands on it, your hands would instantly become not only gold, platinum, but transitional to a point of infinity. Love is that powerful. Love is a master emotion. And so many of us don't understand that you can love so many ways. You can love far more ways than you can hate. Hate has just one concept, and that's stupidity. Love has a multiple little babies that will allow you to love your puppy, but not like you love your daughter.
GC.
It will allow you to love your chicken, but not like you love your sister. It'll allow you to love your mother, but not like you love your wife. And so these loves, put into perspective, have the endless ability to lighten and uplift mankind on a level that is unimaginable. And we let it slip away. That is the most painful thought that I have on a daily basis, is how did we let it get away? We had it in the palms of our hands. We cared about each other. See, character is far, far more precious than cash, than gold, than silver, because with character, you don't need money. You just need people who love you. And they share with you what they got, and you share with them what you got, and therefore it makes money obsolete. But we become so commercially and so greedy in our little demonic, little animalistic, egomaniacal ways until we miss it again. And so these are the things that I think about.
I want to ask you a question. Already I'm already feeling so good on a Saturday here in Tucson on Power Talk 1210, talking to G.C. Cameron, legendary singer, Motown and beyond. You said something extremely powerful at the beginning of that, where you talked about love being the reason why the earth does not warp. It keeps things sane. Can you talk about a specific, again, this is not like scientifically provable. And like you said, a lot of people have become so infatuated with technology and digitization that they can't feel or even get their head around what you just said. Can you give an example personally in Vietnam of a time when you witnessed this kind, or it doesn't have to be Vietnam, just a time in your life when you witnessed that this love saved a community, saved a family, was overpowering in its essence, that it solidified to you that what you just said, that love is the only thing that allows the universe to operate?
Well, I can give you a personal.
Yep.
It came to me about a month ago. I was in the mirror, and I was looking at myself, trying to figure out if I'm who I really want to be at this point in my life. What can I do better for others? My mind is always focused on what can I do for others, not me, because, like I said, I'm not important. The Lord is my shepherd, so the Lord takes care of me. He always has, and I trust my God through my Christ above all things. But I looked in the mirror, and suddenly the Spirit came upon me and pulled an incident that happened. We were on our way to the demilitarized zone. It was July 1967. And I had lost a lot of people. And they sent me a young guy named Smith. And he was a young Caucasian fellow. He was a sweetheart of a young boy, 17, getting ready to turn 18. And he stuck to me like glue. It was like I couldn't move without him. And he constantly had a picture of his girlfriend. And he said, "Look, Sarge, look at this. Is she beautiful?" And I was saying, "Man, wow, what a gorgeous young lady." And I told him, I said, "Well, what I want you to do is focus on where you are right now. I know how you feel, and you just got here." And we were going through a pineapple field, walking through a pineapple field, and the enemy shot him down. He was elbow to elbow with me, and he shot him down. And the sound that I heard and the pain that I felt at that moment when he fell, and I lay there next to him, looking at him. And what the Spirit showed me a few days back was that it wasn't him that they were trying to kill. It was me. And they missed me. And the reason they missed me is because of love. The love that the Lord had for me, the love that my mother had for me as she prayed to my God for my existence and my continuation for whatever his purpose for me is. And that brought not only tears, but a humbleness about myself. And I thought of all the other incidents that they tried to destroy me. And I said, whoa, wait a minute here. Hold up, wait a minute. This has been about the destruction issue of G.C. Chapman and his soul. That has nothing to do with anyone else. So that's when I realized the power of love that my mother and my father and my brothers and sisters had for me. And I look at neighborhoods now and I go, it's not so much of the neighborhoods that are being saved because of their righteousness. It's because of the people. Again? Hello?
I'm here. You're here, yeah?
Okay, and it's the people who love so hard in that neighborhood that keeps the earth on its axis, that keeps the warp away, that keep the failure of the condition from happening. That one spark of love that keep us from flying off into the universe to nothingness because somebody on this planet still, and the Bible calls it the elect's sake, those who the Lord loves a little more than he does others because of their righteousness and their hearts. That is what keeps us from flying off into the universe. It's the love that's left that preserves us.
Mm.
Has nothing to do with me or you. We are the nucleus of the focus, but we are not the result of the input. The result is the love itself, not the flesh of the love. The spirit of the love that chooses to love back and show the universe that because of this love, this planet still continue to go counterclockwise in a dimension. You know, I've always told people, as the Spirit has shown me as a young boy, the reason that they build the pyramids was for the balance of the planet, to keep it balanced. It had nothing to do with the hiding of pharaohs and the remains, all that. It's about like when you put a tire on your car and it warps, the first thing they do is put weights on it. And they put them in the right place so that that tire rotates perfect without wobbling, because a wobble will surely cause destruction after a certain period of time. So the planets have aligned themselves that the rotational system of the planet itself, if you check the pyramid status, they are in the same angle all around the world. That is a weight balance. In fact, they use the same kind of pyramid on scales in many places. There's a weight balance. And so that love to be put back into us means that we're something special, because we're not worthy for preservation. As a people, we are low-class, low-life, sleazy, scoundrel little maggot creatures with such hate, with such disrespect for one another, not to mention disrespect for God, but for disrespect of everything beautiful on this planet. And the Lord has made the most incredible things that the human being can even search out, and yet we don't understand the power of the mind. See, the mind is where God lives. It's in the mind that you can create a world. It is the mind that's the fastest entity of your knowing, because you can simply think of being on a planet and your mind can put you right there. So the love that keeps us here is the love that God has for his creations. It has nothing to do with my ability to love a little harder than the next person. It was already said before we came. I'm telling you, man.
I'm with you, GC. This is why I have you on the program. I wanted to, when you got back to Detroit, were you familiar? Did you ever get a chance to collaborate or go and hang out with C.L. Franklin?
With who?
Aretha's father, C.L., the preacher.
Oh, no, I know Aretha and her baby sister Carolyn, who was a writing friend of mine, a very dear young lady, God rest her soul. She and I were writing partners, so I knew Aretha and Carolyn and Irma, and there was I went to his church a few times. He was just a great man. He was just an incredible human being.
Well, no, because what I'm getting at is, you've been so poetic so far. When you got back from Vietnam, so many people nowadays, they come back from war with modern technology. They have survived, maybe in a different form. But, I'm just curious as to how the music and how most importantly, some of the leaders, when you got back to Detroit from Vietnam, the leadership, who were some of the leaders that allowed the music to flourish and allowed the love to flow within? There was no more vibrant cross-genre regional community than Detroit. I mean, you had jazz clubs, cats were playing, rhythm and blues and soul tunes. The crossover was infectious. And I just wanted to know about a couple of cats when you got back that you considered. Who were the leaders that kind of took you under their wing, and then what was their effective leadership strategies?
Well, I think one of my biggest friends was Norman Whitfield.
Mm-hmm.
He was like a big brother outside of the family. He was the brilliant one at the company. And I loved him because of his independence, his ability to be sure of himself about the music that he did. He was a cat who never sung a note or played an instrument, and yet had more soul in his little finger than most people have in their whole lives. And
I love it.
He would say things. I remember when It's a Shame came out. I'm gonna tell you what he said to me one day. He taught me how to dress. He said, you got to wear nicer clothes now. These things with the spinners, and these things meant so much to me because no one else was talking to me like that, especially rich cats who had money. And I always knew that if I needed $50 or $60, it was jumping out of his pocket into my hand. It was that simple, And of course, Stevie Wonder was my best bud. I mean, he was like, the greatest of the greatest, still is. But at that time, we were inseparable. And he wrote It's a Shame for the group. And after It's a Shame came out, Norman Whitfield came to me and he said, GC, you all sold 100,000 records today. And I wasn't aware of what that meant because I was 21 years old and straight home from a place that most people don't even talk about. So what does that mean? And he, for like 3 or 4 or 5 days in a row, he came to me, and because they got paperwork for the results of record sales that came in every morning. It's a Shame was selling 95 to 120,000 records per day.
Wow.
And this was in 71.
Wow.
And he was saying to me, this is not a Motown record or a Spinner record. He said, this is a Stevie Wonder record. He said, and the Spinners was the first group act outside of himself that he ever produced.
That's
if
right.
I'm not mistaken.
That's right. That's right.
And so that was one of the wings that I came underneath. And then, of course, Stevie was, the second, but it was more of a friendship buddy thing. And of course, I always had great respect for Mr. Gordy because he, his mind was so above so many. He understood talent. He could recognize talent. He knew talent. And he put it all together like that. So I had great admiration for this guy. Always did, always will have.
Can you talk?
And do to this day.
Can you talk about Norman Whitfield? Is a cat that name has not been uttered on the Jake Feinberg Show in my 5 years on the radio. I'm so happy you brought him up. A lot of people would discount him because he didn't play an instrument, couldn't read music. Can you give an example of the soul mentality that he had? A lot of people would say, well, he doesn't know anything about music, but that's not true, according to G.C. Cameron. Give us an example of his sort of acumen for soul.
One of his great love was shooting pool. He was a shark. He could push a stick and hit a ball now. And with that, being streetwise and having that ability to hustle and to notice how people, some are born with a certain thing. Some are just natural. It's sort of like, let's say, Elvis. I knew Elvis. And I spent a little time with him. I used to stay in his place, his suite at the Hilton in Vegas. I stayed there a couple of times, but I lived in Beverly Hills for about 10 years. So my neighbors and my friends were a little different on that side of acting and musicians, etc. So Elvis and Priscilla lived not far from me. I lived at 1004 Benedict in Hartford, and Jack Palance lived next door to me, and I lived across the street from Lucille Ball.
Wow.
I played tennis. Yeah, I played tennis with Suzanne Plachette.
I love this.
And I had dinner at Lauren Green's house and Ernest Borgnine and Cy Weintraub and that crew. Aaron Spelling's nephew stayed at my house with my son and those kind of things. So I learned much during that time. But what I learned about Norman is that he was born naturally with a thing, like Hank Williams Sr. was born naturally with knowing how to feel things. Even though he could play, Norman's thing was to observe people and what made them move, what made them tick. That was his specialty was being able to observe and apply. He would go to clubs like the 20 Grand, that was ran and owned by Bill K. Bush, and God rest his soul. And he would stay there and he would watch the people dance. He knew the rhythm of the human body. So when he get in the studio, he was looking at the people dancing. So naturally, it began to flow. He was just a natural man. I mean, never seen anything like it in my life. Never.
Wow. I just want to.
He was just the most incredible human being. One of the most incredible human beings I've ever met in my life.
And he was already cooking. I mean, even this is when you were before the Spinners. He was already doing stuff with the
everybody. Marvin. He was doing stuff with Gladys. He was doing stuff with you name him. And Norman was on top of it. You know, he and Barry Strong, Whitfield Strong, and he and Eddie Holland, you know, was writing things and doing things as he was growing, and he grew into this giant, man. I mean, he was something special, my friend. I'll tell you that. As far as G.C. Cameron is concerned, he was something very uniquely special.
Well, we're 40 past the hour here. What a treat to be joined by just a legend of music, G.C. Cameron. I'm going to put a piece of music in here for you, brother, and we'll come back and break it down, okay?
Okay.
Sponsored in part by the Stereo Hospital, the Circle Tree Ranch, Abbott Taylor Jewelers, and the Tucson Jewish Community Center, and we thank them for their support. All right, Mr. Cameron, what do you got for us? What song is that?
Pajama Games.
don't want to play Pajama Games. And I got to tell you, I mean, I'm dancing with my daughters to this morning. I mean, can you talk? I interviewed, rest in peace, I did a couple of interviews with Joe Sample, and he talked about the rhythms of Motown. The guys in Motown called it a gallop, like a horse galloping. And that the rhythm is infectious. You cut in right at the merging of acoustic to electric instrumentation. This was really before disco and before the drum track. You had real people in the studio. I want you to break down the rhythm, the gallop, the roots of the African rhythms that were so intoxicating that made that song churn underneath your lyrics.
Well, first of all, let me say that Smokey, Bill Smokey Robinson, the most prolific writer I've ever known or heard of in my life. I've never known anyone to write lyric like this man. He lived in a world, not only fantasy, but extraterrestrial fantasy. I don't know where that comes from, but that's what I feel about it. He was just not on this earth, and yet still connected with this earth. And his words and his lyric and his melodies, I mean, you can listen to My Girl. And when I was one of the lead singers for the Temps, I always noticed how the people reacted to that. But Motown, Mr. Gordy had a vision of uniting the world together with a sound. And that was difficult because, people have different tastes. Some people like chocolate ice cream. Some people like vanilla. Some like with sprinkles, and some like it with nuts in them, and et cetera. Some like when they mix them all together. And there's a certain rhythm flow of life itself that pulls us all together. If we could find that again, we could unite the world again with love. And his vision was, let's do something that will make everybody able to dance, whether they have rhythm or not.
Mm-hmm.
And that comes with
Go ahead.
the heartbeat is the greatest rhythm machine there is known to man, the beat of the heart. By the beat of the heart is by the way in which mankind goes. And society goes by the rhythm of the music. If the music is no good, I guarantee you, bet you $5 on a hat, society is no good. And that's where we come. So the idea was that we would pull galloping like you said, a horse, and everyone can relate to the flow and the motion, no matter where you are. If you're in Africa, when you hear that, you can be on the reservation. That's what Norman Whitfield used so ready when he did Marvin Grapevine, when he did Too Busy Thinking About My Baby on Marvin. Too busy thinking about my baby, and I ain't got time for nothing else. So it was like everybody could move to that sound. There was no, I can't dance on that. No, whether you could dance or not, it made you feel like you could. That was the key in the mystery. The beat that was so abnormal normally. Or shall I say it's so normal abnormally?
Normal abnormal. Part of me, do you feel like the electronicization and digitization and lack of humanity within music, it's not danceable music today? Do you find that to be an issue? Because like you said, it didn't matter. It could be my parents, it didn't matter who it was. He could have no rhythm at all, but you could feel that music.
Of course.
Do you find that there's a vapid quality to danceable music today?
Well, the beast doesn't have soul.
Right.
It makes it perfect in one direction. Bum, 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 bum. Everybody don't feel bum, bum. Everybody not even bum, 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 bum. The soul in you desires to move. It ain't just a body. Those of us who have a soul, need to move and let that soul flow. And that food which our souls eat is different than what the body consumes. And, you might look and say, wow, that's a beautiful Rolls Royce. But the soul might say, put me in a Mustang. I want to put the top down. I want to feel the fire under the hood. Put me in a Shelby. Forget the Rolls and the Bentley. I don't want that. Put me in a vet, a 57 Chevy, a 55 Chevy. And that's the music of us. We need to allow our souls to flow again, to feel again, so that we can love again. Everybody's so busy turning against each other and killing each other and hating each other and conniving and treachery, and the politicians are so full of something that you don't want to eat until it's totally ridiculous. I mean, the lawyers, the judges, the whole system has become corrupt from within. If you look as though you want to be a human being, they arrest you for being human. And the same thing with music. If you don't do the rhythm the way they want you, they're like, well, that's a flop. Boom. That's because something else is controlling the way we feel. You see, if a man doesn't have control of his time, he'll never have freedom. Freedom is to be able to control time and to feel what you want to feel, do what you want to do, and be everything that's in you for the course of that day. Never go to sleep with some leftover love in your bag. It wasn't made to take the bed. It was made to give out to people. To those who crave it and need love, don't ever go to bed with some love in your pocket.
I have a question, GC. I want to read you. I interviewed Bobby McFerrin about a year ago, and I wanted to read you a quote from him and then get your reaction to it. He said, "I tell my stories through music. The essence of African American music is the music in the moment. It's describing who you are, where you are, why you are, simultaneously, all the time, over and over again." What do you feel about, the African American music? It's music in the moment, and you're just talking about the idea of people not being able to have any freedom. Can you talk about the essence of African American music in your mind?
African American music is the soul of music, period. I mean, country and western comes from it, gospel comes from it, blues comes from it. Excuse me, the limitation of music itself is the struggle of a people. Let's not forget now, black people, in all honesty, excuse me, is the only race of people whose identity has been taken from them while they were in slavery.
Right.
No one else had their identity stolen from them or their history removed from them except we, the black people in America. So we had more to sing about because we were reshaped and remolded to be something that we're not. Therefore, being strong people as we are, we had to overcome those barriers by being submissive and yet clever enough to calm the submissive. We had to be able to pacify the oppressor. How? Through music. Now, why is it that a slave owner couldn't wait to hear the slave sing? Of all the things in the world, this guy owns everything and everybody. He can kill you, rape your wife, your children, and sell you to the next bidder, but yet and still he wanted to hear you sing. That's because music itself was given so that the world could be lighter. It was music that calms the savage beast. It made it good for us to sing to the, at that time, so-called master, because we would put him to sleep through the music and wouldn't get whooped before bedtime. So we learned what makes him feel better. What made Saul feel better when David sang to him? Every time Saul got ready to kill David, David grabbed his guitar and started, did the Jimi Hendrix on him. Put the cat to sleep, man.
It's really, it's profound, because I guess the thing about Berry Gordy that's so amazing is that he wanted to create a music and a sound that could heal the world, and it allowed you cats to be able to express what you really felt inside. I don't believe Berry Gordy came to you and said, we need to talk about degrading, talking down to women. That's the other thing is, like, I look at it and I say, okay, so what's become marketable now is, a lot of very aggressive tactics, demeaning women and just men in general, talking about African-American music. It's not sweet soul music. And fundamentally, that just speaks to the fact that it's whatever can be monetized. That's what sells, and that's what matters. That's not going to change consciousness. I just feel like you
Absolutely.
got, to me, it's vexing. I guess the appropriate question at this point, 50 minutes in, is to ask you, what are some of the steps that you believe that people can do, artists, to push back and get that, and to tame the savage beast? What are some of the things? I don't want to believe the fight is over. So GC can
absolutely.
Absolutely. Give us some pointers on what people out there listening all over the world, what are some of the things that they may even think are insignificant that they can do to push back against the savage beast and fill it with love?
What is the greatest thing for someone who's in the dark?
Light.
That's right. Allow the light in you to illuminate so that the world The people are in the dark right now, contrary to what it seems to be on the outside like daylight. That's darkness to so many people because they can't, what they're looking at with their eyes is totally irrelevant to what they see with their soul.
Mm-hmm.
The music that's in the artist should be a lantern that will brighten up the darkest cave so that the Neanderthal, the troglodyte, the Cro-Magnon, whatever's in you, the monkey in the tree, will stop and look at it when you begin to do what you do. Love, again, we go back to that word, that power. Love is the match that lights the candle of life. And love, being a light within itself, will light another light that will be greater because of love itself, the light in which love struck and lit the candle of life. So when you're singing a song, you can't just get up there and start cursing people and looking like, you got to take some class and some culture with you. You got to have some hope in you so that others can feel that hope.
But what if you don't know? What if you don't have an education, GC? What if you don't know where you came from?
Everybody knows in their soul where they came from, whether the world lets you claim it or not. That's the freedom of the mind. The mind itself is the power of man's existence. To resurrect the mind means to lift one up to a place where they want to be. Anywhere they want to be is in the mind. But the mind has been taken from us by the system so that we're not able to, in other words, the brain now is the power in the house of man. When I say house, I mean the body.
Mm-hmm.
So the mind is greater than the brain. As I said to you in the beginning, the mind is where God lives. He's there. It's bigger than what you can imagine. When we get to the point where we stop trying to think we got answers and know things, and we're constantly asking the Spirit for direction and guidance and understanding of these things, then we begin to grow towards a light. One thing I noticed about when I was with the Spinners and the Temptations is that when the people came to see us and hear us perform, they didn't care what color you were sitting next to them, they were in a trance. I made sure I did the best I could as a singer to reach them and let them know that it ain't about you, it's about your soul.
Right.
I don't care about your body. Feel what it is that we're here bringing to you. And they would sit there. There was no violence at any of our shows. Never. Because we sung them into submission. Terry and Joe and Tyson and myself and Otis and Billy and Purvis and Bobby and Henry and myself and John Edwards, my cousin Felipe Wynn, brilliant at it. But the idea is that you've got to let your light shine. Remember that gospel record, This Little Light of Mine, I'm going to let it shine?
Yeah.
That's what they meant.
Keep your love light on. And,
right?
yeah, well, no, I mean, GC, we got another piece of music here for you to marinate on, and then we'll come back and talk about it, all right?
Okay.
And that was Dub Nation doing a song called Carousel with GC Cameron, just singing, keeping the love light on, GC. What a beautiful tune that was. I know you got another CD coming out with Dub Nation, their Temptation.
Oh, yes.
I wanted you to talk a little bit before we get into the CD itself and the upcoming release. Can you talk a little bit about how you talk to younger cats about feeling the music, specifically Dub Nation? I know some of these guys obviously do it, but I mean, you are the lineage and the glue in some respects, and I just wonder how you mentor younger cats to feel.
Well, in all honesty, I try to say to them what was said to me. I remember one of my dear friends, one of them, Eddie Kendricks, along with David, the Ruffin, and we would hang out sometime. And when I was younger, I was more focused on finances and who gonna give me my money, where my money at. And Eddie would get very upset with me at times, and he would kind of scream at me like, he said, "Don't worry about the money. through the music. And so I say to the young cats, focus on your craft. Trust your instincts above all things. Get an understanding of what kind of business you're in and what's out there waiting on you. There's an ambush. And being a war veteran, I can speak on the things of going across rice paddies and in jungles and in mountains and in the deserts pertaining to the human factor. So lay your well plan out, your sketches of what it is that you want and what extent you're willing to go to get those, and what's the price at certain toll gates that you go through. When you go through, life is a road that some of them have tolls that you have to pay. It's called dues.
Right.
So you have to be prepared to pay those dues. And you do it the best way you can by being the best human being you can be. All of that works out in the equation of success. Now, you can successfully fail, or you can fail successfully.
I love it. Yeah. Can you explain that?
Yeah, you can make $1 million and don't have sense enough how to spend it. You fail successfully.
Nice. I dig. I really, really. What about? But I mean, how do you account for the fact that GC, when you were coming up, I mean, the cost of living, you could keep up with the cost of living even if you were only making $150 a week, playing 6 nights a week. You could pay your rent. I mean, you must run into younger cats who are just overwhelmed with the idea of saying, I just need to support my family. If you can't put your mind at ease, then you're not going to be able to truly create sophisticated original content because you're too worried about other things. I mean, that you have to factor that in, because we've never seen since the Great Depression this kind of widening inequality. And for a lot of younger musicians, they're not set for life at this point.
Well, a lot of this was put into place to take away the faith of men.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have faith, you have nothing. You're just there. You're waste. There's no substance to you without faith. So begin to believe again. Allow that spirit in you to rise above what the world said to you, what the world offers you. It's all fictitious now because the world is under a new guidance of a new power. Then if you fall into that power, then you belong to the world. And so the world dictates to you what it wants you to do, what it doesn't want you to do, how it wants you to do it, and when it wants you to do it. Therefore, you don't have time to focus on your craft, like you said. My rent's due, my car notes due, the baby needs milk. How you going to focus? I said, well, if that's the case, write about it.
Right.
You ain't the only one feeling like that now. So feed the others whose voices are left and give them some hope through your faith that you'll rise above that particular kind of lifestyle that the world has put up on us. And that's what I tell them. You know, whatever you do, don't give up your faith in God. Whatever you do, don't change gods in the middle of salvation, man. And that's me. What other people do and say, that's strictly up to them. I have nothing to say except, hey, I understand, because I've been there already, done that.
Right. Can
been rich and poor, up and down, in and out, war and peace, hate and love, give and take, me and him, her and his, this and that and others. So I see it as it is. Like I say, what concerns me most is how are my children and your babies going to get the best out of this life before some fool decides that they're not worth life.
What do you mean by that?
I mean that the leaders who don't have the ability to have compassion for our children.
That's right.
Will put nothing into the continuation of our children's lives and their needs. You know, they're killing babies in the street like crazy, man.
I know.
And when they kill a child, that's like killing my child or your child. If you got any kind of soul or spirit about you, you can't just kill somebody's baby and have a baby yourself and not know it. How can you go to sleep and not hear babies in Ethiopia crying because of lack of food, whether you can reach them or not?
Yeah.
You'd be a young fool to shut off and say, well, I'm okay. And that's what has happened to the world. Everybody's so secure in their little cubby holes until they've forgotten about the rest of the world and the rest of the suffering people.
GC, we're going to have to pick up and do a part 2 because this has just been fantastic. But I wanted to ask you, in your mind, when I listened to, could have been Christian rock from the early 70s, a lot of the spiritual stuff you talk about, faith. You talked about faith. Faith is a very magical spiritual thing, and it's not explainable. And it can be explained. We did our best we could, but do you believe that man's view of God has become there's been an overreach? Seems to me I hear a lot of people in the political world now serving as preachers, telling them what they know God is. This is what God meant. This is what he wanted. It seems to me that man's view of God has become inflated, as opposed to what you guys were talking about and writing about and feeling early on in your career, which was much more mysticism. Is there validity in that, this mysticism versus sort of certainty? I didn't know there was such certainty with God.
God is certainty. It's certain that he's God. That's for sure.
But is man foolish enough to really know?
Let's put it like this. How would I look going into hell telling Satan what to do? Hey, devil, you need to make the fire a little hotter because these people need to be burned a little more than they're being burned. No, you can't, because he already has that. People follow something when they have nothing else to follow. If their mind, and I've said this several times on your show, God lives in your mind, not in the world. The preachers and the lawmakers and all these cats have put together a program to deceive the people into stupidity. So they don't have time to search themselves anymore. They're busy trying to survive because of what the world has laid on us. How do you think you got here? Look at yourself in the mirror at the perfection of the creation itself. You ain't got to have no one to explain to you when you can look up in the sky and see a jet flying by, or look and see a beautiful automobile. Look next to you at your wife or your girlfriend and see the beauty and the love that went into the making of that person for your pleasure. That ain't no evolution. You got to be a damn fool to think a rock. If evolution was that powerful, why is a rock still a rock? Would you think a rock would like to be a Cadillac? If it could be? A Lincoln? No, it was made to be a rock. Human beings were made to be extraordinarily exceptional. We have destroyed ourselves. It is God that preserves us. If it's not for God, we have done been gone. See, this planet has been destroyed a whole bunch of times before we got here because of the life force of stupidity and the grave of ignorance. And we cover ourselves with the dirt of doubt until we become totally dead. That means lack of knowledge, without food, without having the word put into its place. Our minds is the most. Do you know the human mind itself has enough power to light up 100 planets? Just one mind? Just one mind has the ability, if it's used properly in the right power, which is the power that made it in God's hands. There's unlimited power in the mind. And yet we rely on the brain. Now you talk about a fool. That's the biggest fool on the face of the earth, to be deceived into thinking that his brain has got answers. God lives in your mind. You don't have to look outward in the sky for a spaceship to find the Father. He's already in you. That's how you got up this morning to do this show. If he hadn't been in you, you wouldn't have gone nowhere. You wouldn't have even raised up this morning. So God is there. He's with us. The universe is in his hands. We are children of the universe. God is the universal all in all. God is all and all is God, man. You got to know this. You got to feel this in your heart and your soul to know that this is real. Ain't what some preacher jumping up screaming to you out of some book. He doesn't know. He's being paid astronomical price to deceive you and makes you think he knows. That's not what it's about. It's about in you already. You are the power. There's nothing that you can call upon with your faith that won't happen for you. Nothing in this world, nothing in this universe that you can't command to happen, and it will not happen. It will happen for you because you believe with your faith in your heart, and there's nothing that can stop you. Nobody. I ain't preaching to you. I'm just telling you like
no,
it
is. I just am like, I have to go back and I'm going to have to transcribe this whole interview because, I don't pretend to sit here and know much of anything. I just want to be enlightened. And my hope is that as this stuff gets out, more people will open their minds, free your mind. GC, I just, before we go, can you talk a little bit about the upcoming CD that you have coming out?
Yeah, I'd like to say my friend Frank, my buddy, my comrade, my hopes in my music industry right now, in my world of music. Frank Caruso is one of the most incredible human beings I've ever met, and it's just a blessing to be with him and to have him at the helm of this vehicle of music in which we're driving and riding in. And Frank had put together a conglomerate of songs that we both love very much with Dub Nation. The new CD is going to be called Tougher Than Toughest, which is a great name because that's what you got to. It's what you got to be in order to make it nowadays. You got to be the toughest, man. So it's scheduled, I think, at the first of the year, right after the first of the year, Lord willing. We have some tracks on there. We got Papa Was a Rolling Stone and reggae, and I Wish It Would Rain and reggae. And we got a thing that I think segues into Fallen Tears with Kimoko. Kimoko is a great songstress, young lady from the San Jose area. Was a brilliant, beautiful young singer. And a part that we did with the Temptations, Frank was the road manager for the Temps, and not only the road manager, but the manager, period. And he did so many great things for the group. And we did a thing when I was with the group called Have You Seen My Baby, which was sort of like a little play thing, an act that we did on stage. And so Frank took that and put it into another dimension. So that's on the CD also. It's going to be an interesting, hopefully people will hear it and like it because it has something different happening. Even though it's the same old thing, it's not. And at the same time, yes, it is. And that is dimensionally speaking. It's not because of the artist in which you're singing it, and it is because of the writers who wrote it and the songs itself still hold the magic for those who might hear them. And it's just an incredible adventure to be with him on this project and with the crew, the San Jose crew, the musicians and the bands that could go on and on. But
no, I mean I want to revisit. We have a lot more to get to with GC Cameron. I just wanted to thank you for coming on the Jake Feinberg Show and bringing that love and bringing that energy. And Lord knows when we play those records of yours at home, and it just soothes your soul. You know that your mind is at work, and I think some of the stuff you said today was profound. And appreciate you taking the time, man. We'll be in touch.
Okay, my friend.
All right, take care, brother.
God bless you.
God bless
Bye-bye.
you, man. We'll be right back on the Jake Feinberg Show.